Hello, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Comic Book Chronicles. I am your host, Roddykat. You can find me at Roddykat on Twitter. You can find me at NewsNutsNeed on Twitter. You can find me at CBCaps on Instagram.
With Columbia down the way.
Oh, well. And the sound effects you've heard come from none other than our man in Brooklyn, @agent_70 on Twitter and Instagram.
What's up, everybody? Co-hosting from the borough of Kings.
Straight from Brooklyn, better known as Brooklyn.
Better known as Brooklyn is the borough.
That's the straight up. No, that's the straight up. That's the Black Moon.
Yeah,
version.
I know.
G1.
I just
Right,
went on
exactly.
with it.
But we can't go that long. We can't go that long.
Yeah, I know. Sadly, or they come
You know.
after us. But nevertheless, you can find this here podcast on interesting. The Coast of the Podcast Network at cspn.us.
Do it today.
And you can also find this here podcast on your podcast browser place of choice, whether it be Google Play, Apple iTunes, aka Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the Coast of the Podcast Network SoundCloud page.
Make sure to hit like and subscribe and leave us all the 5-star reviews.
I was trying to tweet the show out and something caught my eyes. That's a bad combination. But nevertheless,
That's porn, folks. That was porn.
it was not porn. Sir, this is a family show. Oh man, but
That's one of the few things that will distract me like that. We all know that.
I mean, granted, I give you that, but no, it was just, I don't know, something, I think people say things on just like, all right, y'all need to just log off. Anywho's, you can also find us, yes, no, I didn't. You can also find us recording every Thursday night, 9:30-ish p.m. Eastern Standard Time, with the exception of next week, as we will get into in a second. But, you can...
I was going to say, right now we're on daylight savings time.
Well, yes, yeah, sure.
And we are still suffering for that 1 hour loss.
This is true.
sleep.
Yeah,
Anyway, sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
No, that kind of got me that day too, in a couple of different ways, even though we had talked about it previously. But anyway, you can find us on streaming every Thursday night, 9:30-ish p.m. Eastern Standard Time, or daylight saving time. Regardless, we're in the East, so that's why I said Eastern Standard Time.
The East is in the house.
Exactly. But you can find us on twitch.tv/Comic Book Chronicles and youtube.com/TheKliqNation.
Make sure to click like, subscribe, and hit the notification button so you know when we are broadcasting, and leave us all the 5-star or positive reviews.
Yep. And with that, folks, we're going to get into this here show. I think we're going to start off with spoiler-free /light recaps of some shows that we have been watching. Of course, if you've been with us for a minute, you know what we're going to do. We're starting off with Star Wars: The Bad Batch, which is season 2, episode 13, titled Pabu.
Yes, it's not Taboo like the guy from the Black Eyed Peas, but
Yes.
Pabu. And ironically, Pabu is a place, not a people.
Also funny because you said that also not taboo like from Fantasy Island.
No, the plane, boss. The plane.
You would have to be of a very certain finish to get that reference. I know there's a new one out, but I don't know if they went that far with it.
Right.
That's kind of crazy. There is a new Fantasy Island that's out. That's messed up. Anywho,
yeah.
So yeah, as Agent 70 said, Pabu is a place, and a seemingly nice place. Admittedly, like I said, without going too far into what happens in the episode, the Batch find themselves there along with Fee, who channels a little bit of Han Solo in the beginning of the show. But they end up on Pabu, you know, or I guess a respite. But all through the episode, I'm sitting here like, okay, something's gonna happen. Something's gonna happen. They're about to get dropped in on for something. And something does happen, which we won't go into, but not what you would normally expect to happen to
not
them.
what you think it is. The
Right.
entire you know, part of me, you know, it's a shame I closed my my music streamer, but I would have played like a snippet of rumbling from Attack on Titan, because that's kind of what we get here in the Bad Batch.
Right.
And not caused by Titans though. But yeah, like we said, it's not what you think is going to happen in this episode. And it seems that at least temporarily, the Bad Batch as a crew, as a group, as a family, are headed in a certain direction. We will see how long that direction lasts.
Right. But we also see shades of them kind of going a certain way, and maybe some allegiances may have or will be changing.
Yep.
But this is kind of a thing that was expected to happen, so we're just kind of just getting that now, which I wasn't expecting to happen in this way, and I know there's another shoe that's probably about to drop because of that. But I don't know, for some strange reason I've expected it to be a little bit more direct than what happened here. But like I said, you leave that for you fine folks to find out when you get a chance to check this episode out, if you haven't already.
Right.
Otherwise, it was a pretty good episode. Like I said, it was just, if it wasn't for the fact that it was like, okay, something really, really crazy is about to happen, and it doesn't.
Right.
It doesn't. You know,
it was a different direction. Exactly. So you know, it was still fun, but it definitely was not where I thought it was going to go.
Right. So, but I guess that's just a setup for, okay, now something's really about to happen.
Right. Right. Okay. So next up is The Mandalorian from this past week. Again, very spoiler light, or mostly spoiler free, because it has only been a day since this episode released. And the episode was titled The Convert. Right. And that carries a whole host of meaning. So the bookends of this episode involve Mandalorian.
Yes, we'll get into that in a second, because that was kind of funny the way they did that.
The middle of the episode is almost like, without going so deep into it, it's kind of hard not to spoil it, because what's revealed here is kind of confirming some theories of what the whole purpose of the introduction of the child was at the very beginning of season 1 of The Mandalorian. Kind of confirms some theories, or at least gets people pointed in that direction, right?
And kind of, actually, if you think about it, kind of ties into the direction that the Bad Batch has been going in.
That too. I think it's all meant
it's
to
all related.
tie into, like, it's all laying down the foundation for the awful sequels.
Yeah.
Anyway, you know, I can deliver that deadpan with it, like, you know, like anybody's business. What I was going to add is, as I was watching this and I was reading this week's what is it? Sorry, I apologize, folks. Immoral. I couldn't remember what the adjective was. In the Immoral X-Men, and it reminds me that this is all very reminiscent of Mr. Sinister's plot and screw-ups.
Yeah.
And what they're doing in the Sins of Sinister storyline, and what their goal, what Sinister's goal has been over this time, and where he's gone bad. And, you know, obviously he's trying to he's doing his best to try to reset things, but now things have gone bad in a whole, you know, just in a gigantically awful direction. And, you know, the principles that Sinister was employing in this future cloning process very much reminded me of what was going on and what was being theorized in Star Wars.
Yeah, a little bit of eugenics between friends, you know.
Yeah, just a little. Just a little.
But yeah, the only thing I was going to add to that is that, like, once you see the beginning of the episode, once it gets to the title card, you kind of expect it to continue to go a certain way, and then you just see a hard pivot.
Yeah,
That was like, wait a minute.
You get to the sandwich of the episode, the meat of the episode, and the meat, depending on your tastes, maybe not so tasty.
Yeah, indeed. But all in all, I thought it was in service of.
Of course it is. It's in service of the greater story.
But it still seemed to be a kind of a hard shift between what happens at the beginning and then the middle part, that whole middle part that they happened to tack back on at the end of it, which was kind of funny to me. I was like, oh, so they're coming back to this, huh? Okay.
I honestly liked. I like that some of the theories that I saw and heard were confirmed as to how Din was going to prove his trip. About being baptized.
Right.
You know?
Right. And
I thought something.
Well, you were kind of cutting out there for a second. So I was.
Oh, my bad. No. So basically, that's so ultimately that's I kind of got a kick out of that.
Mm-hmm.
About how he proved that he had been baptized.
Right. And then someone kind of came along for the ride, literally and figuratively, because of things that happened. I was like, okay, that makes sense because XYZ happened. I'm like, okay, sure, I'll allow it. It makes total sense. I'm pretty sure if you could see if you could have seen under the helmets, you would be like, what? from one of those characters. So
yeah. Especially specifically one of those characters, the Favreau character.
Exactly. Yeah, because I know exactly, and I know that character's got something cooking up. Because I was like, wait, we still got some beef. I think we still have some beef going back as far as because I can't remember if those two met in the Clone Wars. I think they had, but I don't remember.
No. One of them was no. His ancestor died. No.
No. What I'm saying, but this particular legacy character, I'm pretty sure was there in the Clone Wars. Is what I'm saying.
Okay.
But I can't remember if that character and Bo-Katan. I'd have to go back and check. But and Bo-Katan actually left. Spoiler alert: Bo-Katan's in this episode. But you've been keeping up, you already know that. So.
Yep.
But otherwise, it was like I say, despite the shift in the as Agent 70 says, the bookend of the episode, it was still pretty decent. Like it kind of went a place. I'm like, okay, I was expecting a little more tied to, for some strange reason, I was expecting a little more tied into what's currently going on in Bad Batch, but that's also something that's happening at two different time periods. Like the Mando and Bad Batch are happening in two different time periods.
Right.
Not far from each other, but still.
Right. So this is the first of two references that made me think of Stranger Things. And I know that Roddykat has not watched Stranger Things.
Okay.
Right? But they reference the Mind Flayer in this episode.
Right.
And that's very much a Stranger Things reference because it's like it's like the name of a creature that they fight. It's like a Dungeons and Dragons creature.
Right? Oh, okay. Because the Mind Flayer has come up before in Star Wars, so that's what I would know.
But you know what I'm saying? Like it's the first of two, and we're about to touch upon Picard, and trust me, there's some Stranger Things in there also.
And I think I know what you're going to mention in that. Even though I haven't seen Stranger Things, I think I know what you're going to connect to that.
Right.
So, and actually, so we're pretty much done with Mando. It was pretty good, but yeah, it would be kind of jarring coming out of the title card from the beginning of it. That's all I would say.
Yeah, be prepared, folks. If you have not watched it, be prepared for a bit of a jolt in the middle of the episode, and then kind of shifting back towards the end.
Right. And on that, we go to Star Trek Picard, season 3, episode five, called Imposters.
Right, so we're halfway. Yes, I'm sorry to talk over Roddykat. It is season 5, episode 5, right, of this season 3, and the title is Imposters, as Roddykat said. So we are halfway through. That's what I wanted to get out.
True.
And Roddykat's going to go deeper into the story, but I will mention that there is a very clear, at least to me, visual and kind of storytelling reference to Stranger Things. So anyone who has watched all of Stranger Things up until now kind of got like that upside down feeling, you know, with like the some of the special effects that come around when the kids go into the upside down, and you know, obviously the mind flayer is, you know, was the Star Wars reference that made me think of Stranger Things, but there are special effects involved in this episode of Picard, as Roddykat will soon tell you, that made me think of Stranger Things as well. Take it away.
Right. Yeah, I'm not going to go too far into it because the show just came out the day we were recording, so you know, people haven't had a chance to watch it. But that being said, yes, I have seen like a clip or two enough of Stranger Things to know what you're talking about. Let's put it that way. Because we find out, so there's going to be a recurring theme in this particular show, week's show of the Comic Book Chronicles, because one particular character, actually two technically, but one of them's a surprise. One particular character, major TNG character, you would say, shows up in a couple of different places this week.
Right.
Actually, like I said, two, but like I said, one is support. So we were kind of talking before the show, and I am not entirely sure about this. I'll have to look into it, about whether the shows and the current comic books are canonically tied. I believe some of them are, because I know they're doing a Strange New Worlds book, and I know that is probably kind of based, that is definitely based off the show, and I know there's a couple of other books that are, and I'm not seeing too much reason to doubt that the current ongoing Star Trek book and the side book that just came out this week that we'll talk about is not, but I'm not, like I said, officially sure, because there's something that comes up in one of those books that seemingly Picard to an explanation is tied to an explanation that is given in Star Trek Picard this week. That being said, you wanted more Worf, you got more Worf, which you know, if you've been keeping up and you've been seeing any of the ads for this, you know it was coming. So, but yeah, this is, as we said last week on the show, they were going to focus a little bit more on Worf and what Worf and Raffi doing at some point, and that happened to be this week. And also, the proverbial ties from the A and B plot are starting to come together because of that. And what happens in this episode is as Agent 70's sandwich references want to say, is the mayonnaise that kind of brings it all together.
Oh, no.
Also, although we are still missing a couple of things that are, I'm sure, that are going to come up in the last 5 episodes to kind of really bring it all home. But yeah, there's to quote Keanu, strange things are afoot at the Circle K. Or in this case, Starfleet.
Gotcha. Exactly. I'm not a fan of this particular plot device that they're using, but I understand.
But here's the thing, it's a thing, but they have been pretty much playing the Star Trek playbook this whole time. Like, yes, there's always something going on, you know, with either Starfleet somewhere or some enemies or something going on. So, like I said, I wasn't surprised about it, but them leaning so heavily in it for this, and I believe in TNG, some of that actually, well, I mean, you saw it in some of the older stuff, like, you know, but I think there's probably been some TNG episodes that kind of definitely weighed in the course of some bad things in Starfleet. You know, the whole Section 31 fleet and stuff coming out of DS9. You know, and that definitely some of that definitely plays heavily into this as we're probably going to find out a little bit more about going forward. But so yeah, it is definitely in the Star Trek wheelhouse. That's like I said, something's always happening in Starfleet, and something. Matter of fact, I do remember there was a specific TNG episode where a kind of similar thing happens, but not with who we find out the antagonist of this season are, or partial antagonists are. But it was definitely a similar plot. So like I said, this is not outside what they've done in the past. So it is what it is.
Right. So I'll just add a couple little things. One, in the pre-show production meeting that we always have, and sometimes goes a little long, we both referenced a great line that Commander Worf got to deliver. Very funny.
Yes.
Very, very well done. And second, the one thing I'll say about the surprise returning character was, damn, aging well.
Yes, we have yes, we definitely have it was a surprise that, as I was telling Agent 78, that this character actually showed back up, but also quite welcoming to see this character after so much time, I would safely say, because this character
and
they
wrote the character well. Like, they wrote the interaction well, that it wasn't fake. It actually turned out to be very real.
Yes, and you kind of get the sense it's like, yeah, some of that was kind of touching on some real, because like I told Agent 70 before the show, I was like, yeah, when the character's actor was on the show, their time on the show was rumored to be not great. Like, there was some kind of butting heads and some stuff, or like that.
Kind of fraught.
Yeah, so the fact that this person actually came back forward was a treat for different reasons, for good times. Now, what ends up happening in this episode is interesting. Kind of a bummer to me, but without going too much into that. But it was good to see the character, put it that way. And it's definitely kind of bringing home the fact that, yeah, they are tying up a lot of loose ends. As Agent 79 was talking before the show, they're tying up a lot of loose ends with the TNG crew. I am curious as to how far they're going to go with that, because there is some stuff from last season that kind of came up at the end that I don't know, that I assume is going to come up again.
Right.
But I don't know that directly. Oh, okay. That directly ties to one of the characters.
I love that. That is so funny. I'm sorry. We got a message in our back channel form of communication just now that made me laugh, because I have certain feelings about this particular issue.
Yes, we'll get to that in a moment, though. But yeah, so just to kind of wrap this up, though, Star Trek Picard continues to be good. I'm kind of sorry that it comes out on the day that we record, because there's so much I kind of want to say about it. And I guess the last thing to tie it back up into what Agent 70 was talking about with his Stranger Things reference, there is a character who's not feeling so well, who's kind of going through something, and they're at the center of this whole thing.
And the center of the Stranger Things reference.
Yes.
Yep, pretty much. So, all right, so I think that's it for the genre shows. I will just say that the season premiere of Ted Lasso came out this week, and I enjoyed it. So if you're into that, have fun. Go Richmond!
Actually, there's some news about this, but we didn't. Neither one of us watched it. The Gotham Knights apparently pilot also came out this week.
Wait. Hold up! Say that. Say the title again.
Gotham Knights, the show based off the Yes, folks.
That's all I needed. Thank you.
Yes,
Thank
I
you.
got you. Yes, the show that's based off of the video game that it didn't come out too well, from what I understand, when it came out earlier this year. The show is apparently out, but is apparently full of Easter eggs. So for the beginning show, what they are, I don't know, but I'll talk about that. Well, we'll at least hint around us to it later. Actually, don't have to now. Regardless, we're gonna get into the books of the week. And I believe
Alrighty.
we're going to thank you. Actually, we're going to keep it on the Star Trek train because as I pull up the covers, we're going to start off with Star Trek number 5.
This issue is written by Colin Kelly and Jackson Lansing, with art by Ramon Rosanas and Eric Tamayo. Colors are by Lee Luffridge, and letters are by Clayton Cowles. So just like every Star Trek story that catches you mid space battle, everyone is yelling out something on the bridge at the beginning of the issue, and we go from there.
And
I'll let Roddykat take it from there.
Yeah, it is a total Star Trek starting episode. Started with into battle, things happen, people shouting out things about the matter of non citizen, and then the core, this and that and the other, and the shields dropping or raising and all that kind of good stuff. It all happens. So they got the Star Trek in the Star Trek book. Good on them.
Pretty much. With I apologize. With another surprise return.
This one wasn't. Wait. I'm not sure who you're talking about now, because this wasn't
the prodigal son.
Oh yes. Which is also going into a conversation that Agent 70 and I had because of something I've recently came across in the Star Trek Online video game in relation to that character, actually, which is kind of interesting. But the crux of this book is that they're into battle, so it's the Theseus, which is Ben Sisko's motley crew made up of different generations of Star Trek folk, up against a Klingon vessel with a clone of their dead leader and a god killer weapon. Weirdly enough, slightly similar in a fashion to the battle of from Star Trek Picard, wherein the Starfleet ship is kind of outmatched in a way. But yeah, and Star Trek 5, Star Trek 6, excuse me, and other Star Trek tide moments. But nevertheless, we got that. But in the middle of this battle, we get the butting of two heads. If you're watching the video version, you may know who I'm talking about. We also get again a Worf sighting, because he was a part of this. He has been a part of this crew for the last few issues. But spoiler alert, as I'm going to talk about in a second, Worf has got his own mission coming out of this book in relation to things we have talked about that we will not spoil, but kind of briefed about. So otherwise, that it's a pretty good issue. It was kind of weird the way it kind of I don't know, the whole thing that kind of set up the next book that I'm going to talk about is kind of weird. Like, you get it, but it's like, yeah, okay, that was a little rough trying to transition into that. But at the same time, they had to kind of pivot into Worf getting his own book. And so they did here with the way they did it. In the relation to the surprise cameo. So, like I said, I don't know, it felt kind of rough to me, but I kind of went along with it. So I don't know if Agent 70 has anything else to say before going to the next book, the next related book. No?
What's that?
So I was asking if you had anything to say in passing before I go into the next book.
Oh no, please go ahead. I got distracted by something. I thought
Uh-huh.
you had already. I thought you were still talking about Defiant.
No, I actually hadn't started yet. Which I'm
Oh,
about to
because
do now.
that's why I thought you were about to start. So.
Yeah, I'm about to. So
Right ahead.
see, I'm not the only one who gets distracted during the show.
Yeah.
Um.
Yeah, unfortunately, it was not porn, folks.
Uh-huh. Sure.
Yeah, no, it wasn't anything as good.
Yeah. So we're gonna we're gonna talk next about, and shout out to Vintage Games too for coming in. What's up? How you doing? For coming through. Thanks for coming through. But we're going to start talking about the new Star Trek book, spin-off book of the week, also starring one Worf in Star Trek Defiant #1. And I'll just go ahead and give the credits here. It's written by Christopher Cantwell, with art by Angel Unzueta, colors by Marissa Louise, and letters by Clayton Cowles, not with VC at this point, at this moment. So yeah, you would definitely want to read Star Trek #5, although this book kind of goes into, at the very least, mentioning, what happened there to get to this point. But I think you would probably be better served if you've read Star Trek 5, and you will see where the rough kind of where it kind of came in at. It's still kind of weird that like I said, because the fact that they kind of did it the way they did, but you kind of have to go through it. But in this case, Sisko is not the only one who gets his own crew. If you're watching the video version, you can see the cover of Star Trek Defiant, and the majority of Worf's crew, or at least the major points of Worf's crew, including a spoiler, sadly. But it was nice. But yeah, Worf kind of in true Star Trek, in true Star Trek fashion, ends up back on his old ship. And his crew is consisting of, so far, Spock, as in old Spock. Not Kelvin timeline Spock, by the and also one Ensign Rowe, who we haven't seen in a minute. This is an interesting week for Worf and folks, like I said, because of where he's showing up. And also, to round it out, as we find out at the end of this book, let's just say some relation to a TNG character who looks and not necessarily acts like that exact same character. But there's a family resemblance there. Let's just again, if you're watching the video version, you can kind of see who I'm talking about. Although this book kind of goes into, like, okay, how do I get from here to there? Worf kind of is going through that, and going into the end where we see this character as a cliffhanger. But again, they're on the cover of the book, so it's kind of, it is a spoiler, but not necessarily a spoiler, I guess, because you would think they would have come in a certain way, but you still kind of wonder how and why. That being said, it's a nice kind of spin-off, coming off of the events of what's going on in the regular Star Trek book. I think it is only a 5-issue. Actually, I need to check that. I believe it is only a 5-issue series. Why don't you check that now? See if I can find that out. And of course, it does not say.
What are we looking up? The whatchamacallit, the IDW the Defiant series?
Right. And it's not showing on what I'm looking at, but let me look at.
It doesn't say on Comic List either.
Yeah, so okay. So, but from what I'm understanding, I think this was made to be a mini series and not like an ongoing book. I mean, things like that can change, but I don't believe that's how they That's how it was announced. So nevertheless, hey, if you like Star Trek and you want to, you probably want to be picking up the regular book to get to this point, because otherwise you'll be slightly lost on a couple of things. But if you like Worf, aka Michael Dorn, is wanting to get his own book or series, which is probably still never going to happen. This is probably the closest he's going to get, and he's not even writing it. So there you have it. Now we're going to push on to. Did we say Miles?
No, but we could, because that's one of the other books that we have in common. We don't have very many this week.
Oh, that is true. You know what? No, let's save that one, because we can wrap into that one. So Avengers Forever number 15 we'll go with.
Sure. Avengers Forever number 15 is written by Jason Aaron, with pencils by Aaron Cooter, inks by Mark Farmer, colors by Frank Martin, and letters by VC's Corey Petit. So this is the ultimate issue of Avengers Forever and the penultimate issue of Jason Aaron's run on Avengers, because there is an Omega issue coming after this that wraps up the multiversal Avengers Assemble story, basically. And this issue is, I thought, well paced. I thought that it was well put together. I thought that it did tie together a lot of the kind of disparate groups of characters, even though we know that they are all related to the core members of the Avengers. They're all like variant versions of those same Avengers. I thought that this issue really tied together the action and gave them each at least a little bit of a spotlight. It also goes to show that there is at least a little bit of a common thread through many of the best Avengers runs, because Avengers Assemble means something. You know, those are not empty words. It's not just a battle cry. You know, it's why it's one of the only battle cries that people, even though they're just like, yeah, that's kind of corny, it's kind of not. So, you know, yeah, that's what I left this issue with.
So funny you should mention that, because on that point, that's partly kind of what got me annoyed about this book. Like, yes, everything you said about it was right. It was like, but they kept kind of going like, I don't need this much explanation about those two words put together. But I agree with you about the pacing and everything. It was just like, okay, we get it. I get it.
I like it because I guess it's the counterpoint to the MCU only doing it once. It's the counterpoint to the understated delivery that Chris Evans gave, which was great.
Sure.
But there is a part of me that wished it had been like a cried out loud.
A little more grandiose. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I agree with you. I totally agree with you there.
Yeah. So that was my take on it. You know, that's how I saw it. That's why I can see your point about it being kind of, driven into the ground
right
to a certain extent. But ultimately, I appreciate it for kind of the same reason.
Right. Sure.
You know, that they kind of pounded it into your head like, hey, this means something. You know, this should mean something to you. This should mean something to every character and every resident of the Marvel universe, is that when they hear it, they know it's about to go down.
Right. Yeah. Agreed. But yeah, I don't know. This was also kind of weird, because it also kind of made me think that I missed something. I know I caught up with the whole thing, because a character pops up at the beginning of this. I'm like, wait, where did this character come from?
Oh, end of the last issue.
I know, but still, even then, I was like,
Avengers
where?
Issue,
right. Yeah. But even still, I was like, wait, where is this? Where did they just popped out of nowhere? Like, what the hell? I'm like, all right.
It's Aaron's version of the portals.
Clearly.
Yeah.
But he had already done that also in a couple of past issues. But I'm talking about with this one specific character. I'm sitting here like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Like, even with all this other stuff going on, I was not expecting this character to just kind of come through. Like
Roddykat was like, That was Roddykat just
basically. Also, but now I will say that there was a nice moment coming off of that into an interaction between the big bad Mephisto and another character who's basically had this moment.
Dodge this.
Yeah, right.
So that was kind of fun. I was like, all right, I think I see where you got that from. Outside of that, it was still a good read, and like I said, most of everything that Agent 70 said, I agree with. It's just that like seeing the words like that so much and they being explained like that, even though I appreciated it and and I appreciate the meaning behind it, it was like, all right, it got kind of annoying to me.
Right. It's funny that it was a fine line that it did not cross for me, but crossed for Roddykat,
Right.
where the words started to lose meaning. Whereas for me, they maintained that meaning and were not empty, because what you'd never want is for those two words to ring hollow, to
Right.
be empty.
Almost like they did in the MCU.
Well, you could barely hear them in the MCU.
That's what I'm saying. It's like
they could not ring hollow, nor could they be empty.
they barely rang at all. Right.
Right. They said them once, so it's hard to argue that they were hollow and or empty. But it's at the end of the day, there are some things that get said over and over again, and I see Roddykat's point, but at the same time, I at least in my opinion, it didn't hit that point. But mileage varies for everyone.
Yeah, teach their own. So that being said, we're coming down to it, and so we only have the Omega issue coming up to cap this all off, and yeah, we're here now. So I guess we finally get where to see whether this thing is going to stick the landing or not.
Right,
as we tend to say. And with that, we move on to, I guess, our last comic book. And actually, you know what? Let's go ahead and spin it up.
Right, because we only have one more book in common, and we have some thoughts about it. So we are going to go into rapid fire.
I ain't got time to bleed.
So our last book in common is Miles Morales Spider-Man #4, written by Cody Ziegler with art by Federico Vicentini, colors by Brian Valenza, and letters by VC's Corey Petit. So we catch Miles still battling with I forgot this character's name. I know that the character gave a code name last issue.
Yes, Rabble. Like
yes. In South Park, rabble. Seriously, Ziegler?
Well, I was thinking rabble, like rubble, like McDonald's, but not that you.
Yeah, but not that you hear it, right? Now that you hear, you're like rabble.
I didn't actually watch enough South Park to kind of catch that reference, to get that reference, but sure, I'll go with that.
Oh, okay, my bad. In any event, yeah, I'm still struggling with the storyline. I'm not. I don't find the antagonist convincing. I think Ziegler means it to be so, because as Roddykat will add, there are many points in the story where the characters question the antagonist's motivation and why just why they're doing what they're doing.
Right.
And on top of that, I also struggle with some of the modernization of what some of the characters say and how they act. Specifically Misty Knight. Yes. She should be a mentor, but I understand, and Roddykat will say why.
I mean, she's
speaking,
and she still is a mentor. But yes, as Agent 70 and I was talking before the show, and that was me actually joking, because I don't know if this was seriously how Ziegler was trying to play her, but she's trying to relate to the youths.
Right, the youths. She's trying to relate to the youths, and I think that she could have used, more of a, there's definitely the mentor-mentee thing here. That's definitely the relationship that's being fostered here, that's being portrayed here. I just feel like that just seemed off. It just made the character sound wrong.
Yeah, we've talked about it in the past where there are certain writers, and we attribute this because these are young writers. I don't know if there's any other reason to say about that, and we could just be kind of projecting that on our own. But it's working. It's working so far, so we're not gonna stop doing it. I don't think anytime soon. But Cody Ziegler being kind of a youngish cat, kind of injecting the youth speak into most of their characters. It hits when it hits and it misses when it doesn't. And I think the whole Missy Knight thing is it's fun to see, but at the same time it's kind of weird to see and kind of annoying. Like I think we've talked about it in the past with this book and certain other books, like I think whatever Spider-Man book Peter Parker Spider-Man we talked about last week or something.
Right.
But that being said, I think the only thing I was going to say is that, yeah, if there was just a slight tweak to the antagonist motivation, everything would be cool on that part. Or a lot more would be cool on that part. But given that they're still kind of going into the same motivations and it being questioned outright in the book, it still doesn't make it that enjoyable of a read and make that character any better. So.
Yep. All right, next up. Let's see, what am I covering here? BRZRKR number 12 of 12 from Boom Studios. It's written by Keanu Reeves and Matt Kindt. Inks are by Ron Garney. Colors by Bill Crabtree and letters by Clem Robin. So this is the finale to BRZRKR, and there are several twists this issue takes. And it's a interesting way to finish this series up. Very interesting. So you can see that the series definitely has some potential for adaptation into a movie and or television show. So you can see where some of those adaptations may lay. Some of the roots for the adaptation have been laid down. Whether or not it's really worth seeing in a live action adaptation is another story. I found the story kind of empty, but I may have to reread it because, there have been a couple of breaks in between issues coming out. So I may have to read it all in one sitting to get the full picture of it. So next up is Captain America, Symbol of Truth, number 11. It's written by Tochi Onyebuchi with art by R.B. Silva, colors by Jesus Bertov, and letters by VC's Joe Caramagna, our favorite lettering paisan. So this is the finale to this Mohanda story that has been in the pages of Symbol of Truth for a little while. And it has Sam Wilson, Captain America, taking on the OG White Wolf, not Bucky, not the Winter Soldier, as in the MCU, but the OG White Wolf. And things kind of go the way you expect, unless you remember that Sam Wilson still is not as combat capable or combat ready as as Steve Rogers, frankly, and some of Steve Rogers's equal level combatants,
or betters in cases.
Right. And if you think about like everything from overpower to role playing to, like if you look at their fighting ratings, Captain America has a certain level of peers, has certain characters that are peers. Sam Wilson's not on that level. And it seems like they are pushing him into that level without showing any sort of evolution on the character's part. The MCU is doing an excellent job of showing that Sam Wilson is still working towards that level. Whether he gets there is a good question, but he's still working at it. Whereas here we find that this version of Sam Wilson is already there, apparently. And it's all about showing us that he's there. And, I'm not the biggest fan of that, but, your mileage will vary on this. Roddykat has not read this, so I'm not spoiling too much here. But when he reads it, he'll realize he'll definitely recognize what I mean. Next up is Captain Marvel number 47. It's written by Kelly Thompson with art by Sergio Davila, inks by Sean Parsons. I've got I was in a hurry doing this, folks, so I see typos in my notes. Inks by Sean Parsons and Roberto Poggi. Colors by Arif Prianto and letters by VC's Clayton Cowles. Now, surprise, surprise, this actually comes in as a candidate for Click of the Week. And I've been a fan of Kelly Thompson's Captain Marvel for a while because I like the way she's writing it. And I like that Carol is, as one of the most powerful heroes in the Marvel Universe, still is filled with doubt. We have a lot of, without thought balloons, we have a lot of like inner monologue and inner narration going on. And I really enjoy reading that. And some of the character interactions in here were spot on, and nice developments for some other characters were written onto the page, namely for Rogue and Hazmat. And I like that Hazmat is developing in the pages of Captain Marvel as a supporting character. It's pretty cool. So this is continuing that whole Brood story, and Captain Marvel and the X-Men are about to cross over very soon.
Okay.
Next up is Hulk number 13. So yeah, surprise, folks. I jumped back on the Hulk book this week just to see where they are, because I know that they are wrapping things up. This issue is both written and penciled by Ryan Otley, with inks by Cliff Rathburn, colors by Marta Gracia, and letters by VC's Corey Petit. Yeah, folks, this run of Hulk is coming to an end. We find out, some of what happened as to how the Hulk, made himself a green spaceship. We find out probably who's behind the Hulk, and behind the Hulk kind of losing things in the most recent, like, couple of story arcs. We find out, I guess, how this is different from other times that the Hulk has kind of lost it, and who's behind this new manifestation of a Hulk personality. So we think there are answers in this issue, but we will see what happens. I believe 14, maybe 15 might be the final issue. I don't know. I don't think there's much left of the Hulk.
Question. Is Otley just finishing up what Cates kind of did, or
I think it's a mix.
Okay.
I think it's a mix. I think he's definitely wrapping it up, but my guess is that he's probably putting at least a little bit of a twist on it. He might have been like co-plotting it at this point, like at some point. So my guess is that he probably had some influence on the story as it was being developed.
Gotcha.
So I wouldn't say that he's just finishing it up, but he's definitely continuing in that same strain and probably putting his own finishing touches on it.
Okay, gotcha.
Last but not least is Immoral X-Men number 2 with it's written by Kieron Gillen with art by Andrea DeVito, colors by Jim Charalampidis. Gotta love the Greek name. Shout out to the Greek brothers and sisters, not the fraternities, but the actual Greek people. And letters by VC's Clayton Cowles. So, shout out to the sororities too. I don't mean to leave you out, but in this I actually am. As I said earlier in talking about Star Wars, Immoral X-Men, this issue really does, talk about that whole chimera thing, about what Sinister ended up doing and what had been foretold in the pages of Hox and Pox. So, if you need to find out what this whole Sins of Sinister book is doing, I think this is the book you have to read. I don't know if you have to. I didn't read that Nightcrawlers book. Was it Nightcrawlers that was out last week?
Yes.
I did not read that. I don't know if I needed to.
In relation to what's going on overall, it touches on it, but it kind of was doing its own thing. So now you didn't necessarily have to.
It's skirting it. I gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So yeah. So I stand by what I said. If you want to read like the essential reading of Sins of Sinister, stick with Immoral X-Men. It wasn't bad. It's actually a candidate for Click of the Week.
Yeah, I need to check it out if I had to do it. All right, then. Then we get to my books, which we start off with new number one for the week. Hellcat number one, written by Christopher Cantwell, with art by Alex Lenz, color artist KJ Diaz, and letters by VC's Ariana Maher. And every time I say her name, I want to sing something, but I won't do it. So yeah, Patsy Walker got a new book. I need to also check. I should have checked. No, I think this is ongoing actually. I will check that. But nevertheless, this is continuing from what was brought up in the Iron Man annual from last year, in which we find Patsy in a new place. She's not with Tony. She's kind of in her old family house, as it were, into coming out of that into this. But she also finds herself dealing with some past issues and some present issues in the form of a murder rap. For what reasons she will have to find out. And near the end of this book, she kind of finds an ally whom I haven't seen in a couple of decades. And I never read them when they were around, now that I think about it. In the form of one Sleepwalker, who is apparently going to play a part of this book in one, maybe two ways, with what they're setting up. So overall, it was. Oh, come to find out in this issue, she may have picked up some bad habits from Tony also, but you could check that out as your leisure. Yes, I'm blaming Tony because if you read what's going on with her, you'll understand. Patsy Walker also, not the first time where she's kind of gotten in some bad stuff, and as is mentioned here also. So, the Cantwell's kind of taken her in a slightly similar trip than she took Tony, but I guess which makes sense given that she was written into his book. So we'll see where it goes. And as far as okay, so this is one of 5. I had to make sure to check that out. So this is only a 5-issue book. Next up is excuse me, good gracious. Darkwing Duck number 3. Dun, 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 dun. Not right here for the second. Script by Amanda Daybert, with art by Carlo Lauro, and letters by Jeff Eckleberry. Typo there, but so someone is kidnapping gardeners, but there is no Darkwing Duck to be on the case. Why? Because Drake Mallard said, "Darkwing no more." He did everything but pretty much throw the suit in the trash can. And because of things that happened last issue, and he wants to raise his little one Goslin and settle down with his boo thing, which I don't remember if this was a thing in the show, in the form of Morgana. But of course, shenanigans happens, and Drake may or may not be using a gun. Who I actually also forgot that he was some sort of inventor in the show, but using a gun that could be, if it was for the fact that there's not an actual pack, could be mistaken for a certain tool that a certain set of Ghostbusters would likely use. Because you kind of see some of the telltale signs of that device, except for the pack. So I was like, that's almost actionable, but they didn't go that far with it. So that was kind of funny. But yeah, Darkwing Duck continues to be a fun read, and all the while, like I said, I assume he's going to be back in action fairly soon for a reason, as the bad guy kind of shows their hand at the end of this issue for reasons. Next up is Avengers War Across Time, number 3 of, I believe, 5. It's written by Paul Levitz with art by Alan Davis, colors by Rachel Rosenberg, and letters by VC's Corey Pettit. So, this is a book that was supposed to be the original Avengers, and that is including Captain America, going up against Kang. And so far, they have fought machinations of Kang, just not Kang himself. In the last couple of issues, especially, Kang had nothing to do with anything going on with things, because apparently the Avengers, thinking themselves to go on the offense, decided to go and raid the Baxter Building for a piece of equipment so that they could try to find and take the fight to Kang, but end up unwittingly unleashing someone else that Thor is very familiar with, and that's pretty much who they've been fighting in the last couple of issues. Excuse me, and including this issue because, or last issue in this issue, excuse me, including some old foes that was introduced originally a few issues ahead of this in this unknown time period, because this is pretty much being set after the events of Avengers number 11 from back in 1969, and a set of adversaries that was introduced in issue 5 kind of come back into play thanks to this other person that comes through. Again, very little Kang to be had until later on in this issue, which he does actually shows up. Surprise, surprise. Which was kind of funny. I was like, this whole thing's supposed to be about Kang, and there was no Kang, but Kang actually does show up, so they fit the bill there. We also see a fun little number with, I don't know, I think Agent 70 would probably be possibly annoyed at, or might think it's fun, I don't know, in the fact that there's a surfing Captain America.
Oh gosh.
Which I saw, I was like, okay, sure, that's the thing that happened. I don't know if Agent 70 plans on reading this book, but I know he hadn't been, so. But the only other thing that was kind of annoying to me is, like, this is set in a particular time period to where, like I said, it was the original Avengers, and Janet Van Dyne, Janet Van Dyne was a little bit more flirty and flighty at this time, and they are really playing that part up a little too much in this book for me. I'm sitting here like, you don't have to be, you don't have to do that. You really don't. We get it. So, but that's that. They got 2 more issues to get back to the whole Kang thing. Whether they will or not, we'll see. And actually, wait, that is the last book for me. So I thought I had another book, but I didn't get a chance to read the book that I was going to read. So, Kliqs of the Week.
Kliqs of the Week.
Yeah.
We have a full roster of Kliqs this week.
We actually do. And as I scroll down to get them, there we go. We got Dirt's Kliq of Star Trek. I almost said it. Star Trek number 5. And he says, oh, you know what? I asked him a question and I didn't read the rest of his thing. So if I had read that, I wouldn't have asked that question. But anyway, he basically says Star Trek 5 is his Kliq, and that he had only read that in Defiant number 1. But he says anytime Sisko says "Get the hell off my ship," I got to go with that, and I'm kind of inclined to agree with him on that. You know, I know both of us have our love of Star Trek and DS9 with that. So, the rest of that is not germane. That. He also makes a reference to my Defiant was great, but he gives the not Star Trek number 5 because it's like Defiant was peanut butter, but Star Trek 5 was like peanut butter with chocolate.
Right, and that got me in the mood for Reese's peanut butter cups.
Same, and like I said, I had already said, like, dang, I had eaten my last one a couple of days ago. Mad about that.
Yeah, I was about to say I worked from home today. The Reese's peanut butter chocolate cups are just a little too far away, whereas at the office they're right across the street.
I say you're not. Well, I guess you're still a little out of the way for any kind of bodega.
Yeah, it's just not across the street.
Gotcha. As I put up a couple of variant covers for Star Trek Defiant, we will talk about Tim's Kliq, which is surprisingly enough, surprisingly enough, but to each his own, Captain America's Symbol of Truth, number 11.
Exactly. Mileage varies for everyone here on the panel of the Comic Book Chronicles. So, what Tim is fond of, I may not be, and vice versa.
Which we can get into the meat of that at some other time, because I can give you the psychology. I can give you potential psychologies here, but we're not going to do that.
Right.
So do you have yours?
I have candidates.
Okay.
I am definitely looking at Captain Marvel number 47,
Mhm.
Immoral X-Men number 2, and possibly Star Trek number 5. I'm not as big of a Trek fan as PCN_Dirt and Roddykat, but I do appreciate some of the things that go on in that book. I think there are a lot of Easter eggs that I miss out on because I'm just not as familiar with the lore. So I think I'm going to surprise everyone, although it's not that big a surprise. It's not the first time I've picked it. I'm going to go with Captain Marvel number 47.
Yes, I have. I definitely have seen you pick this book a couple of times.
Yeah, because there's definitely lots of classic superhero action. You throw Captain Marvel together with Jessica Drew, Spider-Woman, and Hazmat with the X-Men, and you have a classic X-Men villain like the Brood, who has a connection, who have a connection to Carol Danvers anyway.
Right.
So, it's all very much, just really well done with, the new modern twist of, kind of getting into, Carol's head a little bit.
Is that actual?
Well, I mean, into her thought process, and
right.
Like how she processes what's going on.
Right, because this cover kind of suggests a thing, but I'm pretty sure it doesn't necessarily go that way.
Oh, I have to look at the cover again.
Yeah. Also, I'm noticing that Rogue and Gambit are on the cover of this thing, and as far as I remember.
Oh yeah, that's kind of the case.
Gotcha. Okay.
It's not literally that, but it's kind of.
Gotcha. I know Rogue and Carol kind of hashed out their long-standing issues with each other.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, but I was like, I was kind of wondering if any of that kind of came up in that book.
No, I think they hashed it out like a year or two ago in the pages of something.
Right.
Captain Marvel, I think.
Oh, okay. I know it might have been an X book, but I don't remember either, because again, we read a whole lot of stuff and things start to blend together after a while. So, but yeah, I feel like I remember them hashing it out, but I don't remember when. But it always comes up when I see them in the same, sharing the same spot. So, anywho, for myself, I think it's definitely between Star Trek 5, possibly Darkwing Duck, and maybe Hellcat. Defiant was Star Trek Defiant was actually kind of interesting, but like I said earlier, the way they kind of broke that book off from Star Trek 5 was still kind of weird and kind of rough. But I get it for the reasons for the story, but I don't know. It's like the whole thing with a couple of characters, a couple of characters kind of go through was, like I said, kind of weird and rough. But like I said, they had to spin it off some kind of way, and sometimes it gets that way. So I think I'm actually probably, now that I'm thinking about it, Star Trek number 5 is probably the strongest one I've read this week. So I'm going to go ahead and go that. While I give a thing to that. Star Trek number 5, my Kliq. And so we can move on to the news section. But first, an ad read.
Our first ad read of the night is for Wink, the personalized wine club. Wink is a world of wine delivered right to your door. From rosé to Cabernet to Torronté, Wink has over 100 styles of wine to discover. Ever try an orange wine? Wink connects you to a world of exclusive wines tailored to your taste and delivered directly to your door. Wink delivers 4 bottles of wine to you every month with free shipping. You can pick your own bottles or let Wink choose and match to your taste. It doesn't cost a thing to become a member, and you can skip or cancel anytime. And now the listeners of the Comic Book Chronicles can enjoy an exclusive discount of $20 off your first order. To place your first order with $20 off and to help keep our show free for you, go to our network website at cspn.us/wink. That's cspn.us/WINC. Wink Wines through CSPN. Do it today. Now we get into the news.
I have still yet to try an orange wine. I don't even know if that's a thing as much as it was back when that ad was first made. But anyway, cinematic news, folks. I don't know if anyone was watching that Willow show on Disney Plus, but it appears maybe not, because it has been canceled after 1 season. Yeah, that's really not much to say. So that, although this article kind of goes into their own impressions of it, but we're definitely not talking about that. So
yeah, there were a lot of people that were not happy with that continuing story that they told.
Right. Some would argue it was not necessary.
Yep.
I would be one of those people, but
Yep. I mean, I stopped watching it, so I didn't really care for it. But I was never that big a fan of the OG Willow anyway. So
right. I didn't know you was watching it all. I know there was one character in there.
I tried watching it.
Right.
I gave it a shot.
There's one character on there, because I like the person that are playing it, because we've seen them in other things. But yeah. Oh, actually, that reminds me of a character that showed up on The Mandalorian, who we've just seen in a major Marvel motion picture. But I almost didn't recognize him because the hair was different. I'm like, oh yeah, it's her. Cool.
Hey,
Anyway.
Roddy, did you notice that you entered your books on the sheet in Tim's spot?
I did not, and I'm not surprised that would have happened. It has happened before.
Because I'm looking at it like, wait, Tim didn't give us that many books this week.
Oh, yeah. Tim didn't give us any books this week except for the one.
I know exactly. Well, that's what I mean. He gave us one book. All right. Next up, the new Flintstones. As Roddykat forced the sheet to reload just now. The new Flintstones animated series Bedrock announces a voice cast led by Elizabeth Banks. I did not know there was a new Bedrock animated series. So Fox is producing a new Flintstones animated series titled Bedrock, and the voice cast has been announced. Elizabeth Banks, who has produced the series, will lead the voice cast as Pebbles, the adult daughter of Fred and Wilma. She will be joined by Stephen Root as Fred, Amy Sedaris as Wilma, or Nicole Byer as Betty, Joe Lotrulio as Barney, and Manny Jacinto as Bam Bam. Okay, Manny Jacinto.
I've heard that name before, but I can't say that I know who that is.
From The Good Place.
Okay. Oh, that dude. Okay. I know now. I know. No, I'm looking at him now. Okay, now I know who you're talking about. Okay, yeah. I need to finish that actually. I enjoyed that show. So I thought, I'm looking at something. Nope, that's a different Elizabeth. Okay, never mind. I was thinking that Elizabeth Banks was in the Flintstone movies, but she was not. That was a different Elizabeth. So, sure. I mean, there's been Pebbles and Bam Bam related shows, animated shows back in the day where they were teens. You would have to be of a certain vintage to remember that. But hey, I'm just like a Fox produced Flintstones show with some pretty good, casting. But I'm still kind of, what in the world is that show going to be? It's the Fox part of that because it's got me a little bit leery. Also, who's checking for Who's checking for the Flintstones these days?
Mm.
So, but hey, those are.
Well, I was about to say they're refurbishing the story by putting by growing the 8 characters up. So
yeah, well, again, like I said, it's not the first time that that's happened. So yeah, interesting pick for Betty. I was like, yeah, once I saw that she was doing Betty, which I just found out that Grand Crew's back on the air. So, interesting pick. Anywho's, so yeah, I mentioned Gotham Knights earlier in the show, and apparently the pilot came out this week, and there's a bunch of Easter eggs and references in the show that if you care to read about in this article that I have in the show notes, you can do so, but I will not go through them. Next.
Bat in the Sun Productions and Bascule Productions Limited have set a North American theatrical release for the late Power Rangers star Jason David Frank's final film, Legend of the White Dragon. So the release will coincide with what would have been the 50th birthday of the actor, who tragically died of suicide in November of 2022 at age 49. So it will be released exclusively in theaters across the top 25 markets this fall. Okay.
Yeah. And apparently that's weird. Anyway. We're going to go into the anime corner. So, this bit of news came out, I believe, while we were recording last week, because we recorded on a Friday, and I kind of wish we had gotten it out of the way then. But nevertheless, the Anime Awards for Crunchyroll's Anime Awards for 2023 winners have been announced, and they are all in this article here, of which I had not had the time at the time, or now to think about it now, to go through. But I'm just going to peek and see what the anime of the year is and the nominees, some of which you know and some of which you have heard of talk about. Some would argue, if you're watching the video version, you can see it, but that one or two of those shows got robbed.
Wait, anime of the year is what?
Yes. So so Cyberpunk Edge Runners. I heard a lot of people actually like that show though. It's a Netflix anime show based off of Cyberpunk the video game, based in the world of Cyberpunk's video game,
Okay.
or the tabletop game. I guess you could kind of put that in there, but yeah, like I said, the anime of the year nominees were Demon Slayer, Cyberpunk Edge Runners, Attack on Titan, The Chorus Recall, Rank of the Kings Core 2, and Spy Family, which again I say a couple of those I feel like there was a robbery in place, but again I know there was I know enough people who actually watched that Edge Runner show and liked it, so I hear good things about it, but I have never watched it myself. Like I said, I'm not gonna go through this whole thing. Also, best original anime got robbed but that's a personal thing because I happen to like one on this list.
All right. Well, I was about to say shout out to Best Animation because of what I'm saying about the presentation of the Entertainment District arc in the movie theater.
Well, just in general, because I mean, I was just looking at that. I mean, Demon Slayer's art in general, whether off of big screen or not, is just fantastic. You know, so I
best opening sequence. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Finish your thought.
No, I was about to say, so it was well deserved for that. I think probably best anime might have. I mean, again, that's biased because of based on likes. I recognize that. So, what were we gonna say?
Sure. No, best anime opening sequence, Rumbling from Attack on Titan Final Season Part 2.
And best ending sequence was a comedy from Spy Family, which I think was it? Wait, was that the first part? I think it was. I do. If it's the one I'm thinking about it, I do like that one. It's kind of fun.
Oh, it's good. It's good.
Yeah, totally.
But the overall score goes to Attack on Titan, of course.
Spy Family did get best new anime series.
What's that?
Spy Family did get. Yeah. So
Best anime song, Rumbling, like I said. Best anime character. Oh, this is silly. Eren Yeager.
Okay, I'm sure. I guess.
Best supporting, best must protect at all costs anime character.
Wait. I mean, yeah, you kind of expect that, sure. I'm like, wait, let's see who's in the running here.
Oh,
I'm surprised. So Kotaro lives alone. I know a lot of people were like, protect this kid at all costs. It's basically a 4-year-old kid living in an apartment building by himself. So, like, I'm surprised that one didn't win. Demon Slayer won for best action anime. Of course, Spy Family for best comedy, and Attack on Titan for best drama anime. And Demon Slayer, let's just say Demon Slayer and Attack on Titan did pretty well.
Yep.
I think it's safe to say that Jujutsu Kaisen actually won for the prequel film, which I still have yet to see.
Really? You should watch it.
Yeah, I know it's out there. I don't know. Just I need to catch up on some stuff. And for you One Piece fans,
I was about to say it is on Crunchyroll now.
Right. Yeah, I know. Like I said, I got it queued up. I just hadn't checked it out yet. For you One Piece fans, and I know y'all were tanking the votes. I mean, not tanking the votes, but y'all were probably stuffing the ballot for that one.
Ballot box, yeah.
Best continuing anime series. Come on, that joke has been going on for like 50 years. I mean, half these shows in that category hadn't even been around. Okay, maybe JoJo's, anywhere near that long as One Piece. So that's whatever. But yeah, like I said, the rest of the rest of the categories and the winners are out there for your perusal. So check that out at your leisure as I scroll by them real fast. Next up.
All right. Let's see. Spy X Family Season 1 Blu-ray has been announced. So we're getting second season and a feature-length film coming up. But we are going to get a Blu-ray set collecting the complete first season. And it's going to arrive this year. Okay. That's interesting. Any pricing in this article?
I'm actually looking for that. Not see the price.
All right, just out of curiosity. Yeah, I don't see it either.
Yeah, likely probably upwards of 30. Between 25 and 30, I guess. That's actually being generous, because sometimes they'll bop that price up. But when you move over to the manga corner, it's a kind of a bridge and say that, hey, Barnes & Nobles has launched a huge anime and manga sale. That is going on right now. If you're so interested, you can buy. It's a buy one get one free. Going on from the 13th to March the 27th. So have at it. Admittedly, the last time I went into the Barnes & Nobles was going into the anime, the manga section. So I would
really.
And granted, it's been a while since I've been in a Barnes & Noble. But yeah, the last time I went in, I was like, hey, let me see what they got on there. And this was probably a few years ago, because I used to go to Books A Million. Even and the closest thing we got to that is well, actually, shoot, the Barnes & Noble's closed from around here too. Now that I think about it, but the Books A Million's too far away, and and there's a second in Charles down the street. So slightly bummed, even though Books A Million's about the same place.
I'm sorry.
No.
Now I'm tempted to go see if the collected edition of Attack on Titan is on sale at Barnes & Noble.
Yeah,
at a discount. That's pretty cool. Yeah,
it says you can go to the site for the buy one get one free, and it says you can also go to the store right through March 26th.
Right. So that means I've got 2 more weekends and after work to hit up Barnes & Noble and check out whether or not it's time to go pick that up finally. Yeah.
And again, if I didn't mention, it's buy one get one 50% off, not buy one get one free. Like,
no, there's a couple of discounted ones too.
Right.
So we'll see how discounted it is.
Right. But that's the main thing that this article is putting in here. So, I mean, it's not bad. I would prefer buy one get one free, but you can't do that. Well, you won't see that too much these days anymore.
Right.
Anyway, next up.
All right. Next up, just a moment, folks, because of course I went to go look up that sale. Jujutsu Kaisen cliffhanger teases Sukuna's biggest fight yet. So this is for the manga. So not going to go too deep into this because both Roddykat and myself are watching the anime. So the manga is obviously much further along in the story. So if you are keeping up with the manga, guess what? There's some important stuff going on for Sukuna's biggest fight. Yet, that is.
Right. And now we squarely get into the comic book news. Although it's not much because I didn't pull a lot. DC reveals first look at DC Pride 2023 specials and variant covers. So yeah, at the center of the initiative will be DC Pride 2023 #1, which is DC's annual anthology with all new stories spotlighting LGBTQAIA plus fan favorites, which will be published on May 30th. It will be a 104-page prestige format and will feature an introduction by Phil Jimenez, main cover by Mateus Mahanini, my apologies, and an open to order variant covers by Gabriel Piccolo, Jen Bartel, and Oscar Vega. And yeah, and it also shows the creative teams of the stories in DC Pride 2023, but I won't go through all of them, even though it's not that much, because. Oh wait, so yeah, okay. So there's also going to be a DC Pride Through the Years, an 80-page giant reprinting select landmark issues for LGBTQ plus characters. This will include reprints of The Flash #53, in which Pied Piper came out as gay to his friend, The Flash, Batwoman showcase in Detective Comics 854, and Lee Serrano's introduction in Supergirl #19. Additionally, it will feature a new story from Tim Sheridan and Cian Tormey concerning Alan Scott's future in the DCU. Then there's going to be on May 16th, DC Book of Pride, which is a hardcover featuring over 50 LGBTQIA characters from the DC universe. It will be written by Galaxy the Prettiest Star and Heart Girl writer Jadzia Axelrod. But shout out to the name Jadzia. I would say there's a DX9 fan in their family, but I don't know if that's actually where it came from. With a cover by Paulina Ganonchar. And let's see, there's a number of various covers that are going to be coming out for various books. And that's pretty much that. So yeah, check that out starting in May. Next up.
Cool. Oh yeah, I see the Attack on Titan stuff on sale. Buy one get one 50.
Agent 70 has squarely has checked out in favor of looking for book deals.
DC Webtoon Comics featuring Batman, Vixen, and Zatanna get print releases. So these are originally stories released as Webtoon Comics back in September of 2021, and now they are coming to print. So they be on the lookout. They are going to come out over the course of this year as collected editions, and all three are priced at $14.99 each. The Batman Family Adventures, Wayne Family Adventures goes on sale in August 1st. Vixen NYC Volume 1 sees a release date of August 15th, and Zatanna and the Ripper debuts October 3rd.
Yeah. As I pull up that Barnes & Noble page, not a sponsor, just saying. Marvel's newest spider hero has amazing and yet very different powers. So this is spoilers for Deadly Neighborhood Spider-Man, which neither one of us has read. And it seems as though, oh yeah, speaking of Taboo from the Black Eyed Peas, he's writing his book or co-writing his book. So that's funny. So there's a battle between Spider-Man and his nightmarish doppelganger. And comes to find out that I don't know, somebody's worlds get shaken up by this. I don't know. I'm not reading this book, so I don't know who this character is. But regardless, hey, if you are, you can go check it out for yourself. Next up.
Alrighty. Doctor Strange is back from the dead in a preview of the new Marvel series. So we had talked about this earlier in previous shows that the next volume of Doctor Strange is coming out very soon. And it is going to be written by Jed MacKay with art by Pascal Ferry, colors by Matt Hollingsworth, and letters by VC's Corey Petit. So this article has a preview of it, and it's written by this preview article is written by Timothy Adams, our very own at TimDog98.
Yeah. Marvel teases the Omni Avengers, which I guess I probably should have taken out of the lineup because this is basically spoilers for Avengers Forever 15, which we talked about earlier. So, which now that I think about it, looking at this, I don't remember that term even actually coming up. But then again, that could have been a failure for me and not anything else. But I'm not going to read this article. Next up.
Yeah, I honestly didn't see that term, so
Right.
maybe we're going to, see that in the finale.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Comixology Alternative GlobalComix partners with Image, Boom, and more. Okay, so for people who are bemoaning the essential demise, although it's not yet dead, but it's close, of Comixology, GlobalComix is an alternative, and it's promoting digital reading and distribution. And as I said, is now partnered with Image, Boom, and more publishers. Good for them. Also including Archie and more.
Yeah, we need a good alternative. Hopefully it pans out. And I know there's been a couple that kind of popped up, but they're still doesn't really hit the mark that you would want.
Right.
AKA hit the big two. Also get the big two on board.
No, but the big two have their own app, so they have no incentive to be on an alternative app.
Some would argue that about some of these other companies also who have also had their own apps. But I mean, granted, there is a difference, marginally a difference. But yeah, I know. But they're still on Comixology, which you know the reason why that is. But yeah, but like I said, it would still be nice. I think there's a good cropping of people who would want that in addition to some of this stuff here. By the way, apparently there's some Miyazaki stuff that's on this this Barnes and Noble sale. So if you're interested in that. But Marvel Legends Hyperion and Dr. Spectrum Squadron Supreme 2-pack is up for pre-order. 8-70, what do you think?
If I were still dead set on building certain teams, I would get these. Have a Squadron Supreme, because it seems like they are at least looking to start putting together, a semblance of the OG Squadron Supreme. We already have a Nighthawk. The Marvel, the mainstream Marvel Nighthawk, the Defenders Nighthawk. So that means the Squadron Nighthawk cannot be far behind.
Yeah, through that. So in this 2-pack, it's a 6-inch scale Hyperion and Dr. Spectrum figures with deco that comes straight from the comics. If you're watching the video version, you can see that for yourself.
Yeah, they needed to redo Hyperion, so that's good. This version is better than the first one.
The set will also include 7 accessories, including Dr. Spectrum's Power Prism and Blast Effects. And the sets will be priced at $49.99.
$49.99, which is pretty much reflective of the new price point of individual.
Yeah, basically. Oh, I know there was a story that I meant to put in here, related to some Oscar folks, but I totally forgot to put it in there. But we talked about it already. Nevertheless, next up.
Oh, my apologies. I
Yeah.
pulled up the wrong story.
Okay.
Asmodee's March releases include Star Wars deck building game, My Hero Academia, Marvel, and more. I'm sorry. No, I had skipped ahead to a story and I closed out the tab that had this Asmodee story in it.
That's
So
fine.
let's see here. There are two. Yeah, those are two of the biggest releases for the card game company. Star Wars, a deck building game, and My Hero. They also have Marvel Crisis Protocol and Star Wars Legion, and they hit later this month.
Yeah, I think the Star Wars one I had seen something about in passing, and I was like, okay, interest is there, obviously. My Hero one figured was going to come at some point from somewhere, so I'm not surprised. I think that Marvel Crisis Core might have been around, and these are just like add-ons too.
Right.
But
yeah, no, these are all add-ons. Like the My Hero game is like Series 4 because I remember when that was introduced at like 2 Comic-Cons ago.
Right.
I remember walking through seeing the My Hero Academia game being promoted, and then I think this last Comic-Con they had boosters out already.
But I think
like expansions, that is.
Right. But I think the Star Wars is newish. I feel like this company has done a version of Star Wars deck building. I think I have one. That might be the old version. So I know this might be something new and different, but I'm not entirely sure how to look into that. But regardless, there you go, folks. Next up, what Agent 70 was talking about, I assume, new Indiana Jones Adventure series action figures revealed. So, folks, it's Indy in the map room, in his map room garb, complete with big stick.
Right. So, given, go ahead and finish your thought.
I was about to say, and the second figure is Kazim from Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade with a gun. What were you gonna say?
I was about to say, given the awards won by Ke Huy Quan and the recent reemergence of him on the Hollywood stage, a short round action figure cannot be far behind.
One would hope. One would hope.
And congratulations to the cast of Everything Everywhere All at Once, which is borderline a genre movie. You know, it's not a borderline. It is a genre movie.
Yeah,
it's just not something that we covered here that closely on the Comic Book Chronicles. But shout out to the Daniels, shout out to the cast, and congratulations on all of your big wins, especially to Michelle Yeoh, Ke Huy Quan, and Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yeah, indeed, it was definitely a big night for them, for sure. But last but not least.
Oh, it is. Hot Toys reveals Wrecker and Tech action figures from Star Wars: The Bad Batch. Hot Toys revealed these figures, and you know, they are great characters. This is the 1/6 scale, but Hot Toys is gonna Hot Toys, and you know what I mean by that? It's gonna be expensive. It's gonna be super detailed. It's gonna be super cool, but it's gonna be expensive. So is there a price here in this? There has to be. I just have to keep scrolling through all of the pretty pictures of these really cool figures. No, I don't see one.
Yeah, well,
like you said, Hot Toys is definitely gonna Hot Toys.
Oh yeah, totally. It's gonna be pricey. Also, and this is not a surprise in the least, but no Omega figure, which is kind of sad, but not unexpected. Yeah.
So apparently they have, so they do have all 5 of the OG Bad Batch, right?
Yes.
Gotcha. Yeah, because Crossfire, not Crosshair, is in
there. There you go. But yeah, the only ones they're showing here in at any length are Wrecker and Tech. But they do have, you can definitely see
Yeah, so you have
Holden's
whatchamacallit,
together.
you have Bandana, I mean
Hunter.
Hunter, and is that supposed to be Echo? Yeah, that's
I'm
Echo
going to
with the
assume so.
backpack.
Yes.
Yeah, with the backpack, yeah.
Yeah. And then Crosshairs to round it out over there on the side. So,
Oh,
yeah.
Crosshair, and I was about to say Crosshair, Tech, and Wrecker are the easy ones to pick out.
Right. So, but yeah, like I said, they look good. It's gonna be kind of pricey. And again, no Omega. We still never got a Hera. No wait, I think we did actually.
Yeah, we got a Hera.
No, I'm thinking of something else that we didn't get a Hera for.
Regular.
Yeah, there was oh, Disney Infinity, that's what it was. We didn't get a Hera figure there, but we did get a Hera figure in the
regular Star Wars,
yes.
whatchamacallit. You got it, didn't you?
I did get it, yes.
Yeah, that's what I remember you saying.
So but anywho's that, folks, rounds out our news section for tonight. Let's get one last ad read in.
Oh, I'm getting some text messages about Ted Lasso, and I have a sound bite I want to grab, a sound clip I want to grab from the first episode of the season.
Yeah.
Our last episode, our last commercial, that is, our last ad read of the night. It's for Blue Apron's meal delivery service. Blue Apron, fresh ingredients and incredible recipes delivered weekly to your door. Skip the grocery store and make incredible meals at home with Blue Apron. Always ship free right to your home. And now the listeners of the Comic Book Chronicles can get $30 off your first Blue Apron order. To place your first order with $30 off. And to help keep our show free for you, go to our network website at cspn.us. That's cspn.us. And click on the Keep Our Podcast Free link at the top of the page. From there, scroll down to the Blue Apron link and sign up for your first order. Blue Apron through cspn.us. Do it today.
All right, folks, that is it for this show. Before we go, I forgot to mention this earlier, but we were going to mention it again either way. Next week, we are going on Movie Protocol because while it is not normally, and well, it kind of isn't under the purview of this program, John Wick Chapter 4 is coming out next week, and we are going to go see it separately.
Yes,
So,
we are going to see it. We will probably have something very spoiler light to say about it on next week's show. Whether or not that gets recorded Friday or Saturday remains to be seen, but we will be on Movie Protocol next week, so we will not be recording on our regular Thursday time slot. So get ready for
Guns. Lots of guns.
yes, indeed. And with that, I am Roddykat. You can find me at Roddykat on Twitter. You can find me at News Need on Twitter. You can find me at CBCaps on Instagram. Agent_70 on Twitter and Instagram. PCN_dirt on Twitter. Pop Culture Net on Twitter. PopCultureNetwork.com and all his umbrella sites therein. And Tim DOGG98 on Twitter. The Osiris that is. You can also find him at CBCron on Twitter, which is the Comic Book Chronicles Twitter account. The Kliq Nation on Twitter. That's TheKliqNation, all one word. And thekliqnation.com. But you definitely can find him over at comicbook.com under the aforementioned named Timothy Adams, writing his face off. You could find us on the Cold Slither Podcast Network. That's cspn.us.
Do it today.
You can also find us in your podcast place of choice, whether it be Google Play, Apple iTunes, aka Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the Cold Slither Podcast Network SoundCloud page.
Make sure to hit like and subscribe, and make sure to leave us all the 5-star reviews.
Yeah. And again, you can find us most times recording on Thursday nights, 9:30-ish Eastern Standard Time on the YouTube channel of The Kliq Nation. That's youtube.com/TheKliqNation and twitch.tv/Comic Book Chronicles.
Make sure to hit like and subscribe and hit the notification button so you know when we are on live.
Because when the East is in the house, you should come equipped.
Oh my God, danger!
And with that, folks, stay tuned to our social media for when we record next week's show. This has been the Comic Book Chronicles. Peace.
Peace. One.
Almost over, y'all. Yeah, I really stand. Lights out.